place to be, where art, life, and spirituality connects you and me. Science of mind and spirit, the foundation we teach and live. Love, joy, and belonging are the gifts we have to give. Our consciousness, our being, open at the bottom, open at the top. We're not simply one with God, but we are it itself. It will never stop. SIA, our spiritual center, family and home. It's where we come to practice and remember there is only one life, one mind, one infinite, eternal, self-existent. 'Cause we pause, embodying all that we are. We shine like a glorious star. Our consciousness, our being, open at the bottom, open at the top. We're not simply one with God, but we are it itself. It will never stop. SIA, our spiritual center, family and home. It's where we come to practice and remember there is only one. Spirituality is our way of life. We value laughter, truth, and justice. We express artistry as our living practice. So come and join us at SIA. Know you found a community that will love you every day.
Namaste, greetings and blessings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts. This is our Sunday message, and I am Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, the founder and spiritual director of this center. And I invite you to watch not only this Sunday message, but any of our archived messages. I invite you to join any classes or events that we have going on. I invite you to reach out and email if you have any questions. Questions about this community, questions about me, questions about what we do, or questions about this science of mind and spirit, liberation theology that we practice and teach. And if by chance you find yourself seeking beloved community with other like-minded beings, even if you already belong, are a member of another community, church, or center, you are more than free to have multiple affiliations wherever you are fed and find community. You are invited. And lastly, feel free to click like, subscribe, and share this or any other message or announcements with others in your circle. And with that, much appreciation, love, and blessings. Enjoy the message.
SIA is the place to be. So buckle up, we're making history. And if you are willing, repeat after me. I am love. I am love. it right. One more time. I am love. I am joy. I am divine. Amen. Yes, you are. Amen. Yes, you are. Now today's message begins.
Namaste and greetings. Are we ready? Are you sure? Okay, because we diving into some angry stuff. Okay, I was giving you, okay, that's fine, that's fine. Anger is very often made out to be the enemy, much like fear, darkness, etc. You ever notice in New Thought we vilify a great deal of emotions and thoughts rather than actually addressing what the thing is? But nonetheless, anger is very often made out to be the enemy. But what if anger, like fear, holds the sacred key, points the direction to how we are better able to effectively transmute and transform our lives individually and the world collectively? What if? And that's sort of a rhetorical question because it can, if. So this week we are going to explore how exactly can we take anger, use it to transform, like an alchemical compound that then transmutes, changes and transforms some aspect of our lives, and then our entire lives collectively, and then collectively the world. How do we take anger as that alchemical compound and use it to create more effective, compassionate action that benefits the collective good? How can we reclaim the fire of anger, this powerful force, and harness it for our collective healing? That's the invitation. So you ready to dive in? Okay, then let's go. Angry, anger, madness, furious. Variety of ways to express the volcanic eruption that we refer to as being angry, feeling mad, furious. But let's look at the anger volcano as a more specific example. And once again, I invite you to come back and read the whole thing and look at the whole thing. But the gist of anger erupts, but usually beneath the anger, if we look deep enough, we find all kinds of things that cause the lava to blow. We find fear, guilt, we find stress and anxiety, rejection, abandonment, feelings of overwhelm, incompetence, failure, pain, and more. And as the graphic says, anger is a secondary emotion, which means there is some other emotion at work as well. So think about the chemical compound for water. Water is not made up of hydrogen alone. You also need oxygen. Anger does not exist alone. You also need some other emotion to be there to cause this thing to turn into anger. This is why it is vital that we are emotionally intelligent enough to actually be able to identify what are we feeling and how are these feelings showing up? How are they being projected outwardly? Because no matter what it is, if it's left unchecked, uncontrolled, potentially it becomes harmful and dangerous. Breathe. So, mobilize means to organize, to prepare, to gather resources, to gather people for a specific purpose. Literally, it means to make something mobile. It describes putting something or someone into active motion, some form of readiness to act. This is one reason why the concept of activism, specifically within New Thought, when we make activism an enemy, we should not be involved in this thing called sacred activism because it's political. No, it isn't. Activism simply means to be active. The Good Samaritan, you know, the story in the Bible, Jesus told the parable of the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan was an activist. He was acting based upon his values, integrity, ethics, and morals. He didn't just think about being a good person. He mobilized, actualized, and demonstrated in action the activity of his life. He was an activist. Jesus was an activist. The Buddha was an activist. And we could go on. So let's orient ourselves and understand that being an activist, a sacred activist, isn't specifically political. Being a political activist, it's in the name. But a sacred activist, even a social activist, doesn't automatically imply political. And even when the activity is involved in politics, it's important to understand to what degree are we referring to it. Because speaking out for equity and justice, that's political. If there's a pothole in your neighborhood and you want it filled and you contact the mayor's office, you're an activist. And you're contacting the mayor's office, that's political. So let's get our stuff together and actively mobilize the teaching in a way that benefits the planet. So, here are some other words that one can use to reference mobilize. Because if we're going to use anger, we are going to take it and allow the anger to mobilize. The anger impels us. The anger propels us. The anger gives us the thing that sets us into motion. So anger can be a mobilizing factor. The opposite of mobilize, to be disorganized, to hold back, to separate, to divide or repress. So once again, anger is the fire. There are some instances where the best thing is to quell the fire, put the fire out, because it is damaging. But there are certain times where the fire should be stoked. We put fuel to it to keep it burning. Campfire. If there's a fire and we put it out, how do we cook? How do we stay warm? We want it to be controlled and continuous. So, everything you should know about the fire tetrahedron. I didn't even know this was a thing. The fire tetrahedron. Understanding the heat aspect of it. And once again, come back and read it. Homework. Understand the heat aspect of it and how the heat is involved in the process. What is the fuel to it? You know, if you have a campfire and you put water on it, water is not going to fuel the fire. Paper will. And certain things will give off more heat based upon the fuel being used. Oxygen is part of it. There's a chemical chain reaction. All of these things are necessary. So now translating this physical science of fire into the psychological aspect of the emotion serves us in a great way to be able to look at all of the aspects, all of the sides, all of the permutations of. So, if we look at it scientifically, the fire tetrahedron, the fire triangle, you know, that was the original concept, but then a fourth element was added. And this fourth element gives the idea that fire requires all four of the things we just mentioned. There's heat, there's fuel, there's oxygen, and then there's this uninhibited chemical chain reaction. that gives the fire the ability to sustain itself. If you remove any of these elements, the fire goes out. Now, if we map this directly onto anger, then we find the fuel, vulnerability, the wood, the paper. Fuel is the combustible material waiting to be lit. In the anatomy of anger, the fuel is your underlying emotional vulnerability or an unmet need. The psychological equivalent is pain, exhaustion, fear, insecurity, grief, or some boundary that has been crossed. Anger very rarely exists in a vacuum. And as I said before, it is a secondary emotion that feeds on a deeper, more primitive or primary wound. Without this baseline vulnerability, the dry wood, a spark will not be able to catch. The heat, the trigger, the spark or the ignition. Heat provides the energy that is required for ignition. You can have a pile of fuel, but it will not burn until the temperature, the heat, reaches a critical threshold. This is how brush fires and things happen. There's too much heat. The brush is too dry. The heat rises and the heat rises and the heat rises, and there's the ignition point. The psychological equivalent being the activating event or the trigger. What is the perceived offense, the insult? Could be a traffic jam, could be some form of unexpected or undesired rejection. It could be a direct threat itself. It is the external or internal event that introduces sudden energy, heat, into your emotional system, which then sets the fuel on fire. The oxygen, the cognitive feedback loop, the air. The psychological equivalent, your thoughts, stories, ruminations. And then the uninhibited chain reaction, the behavioral expression, the combustion itself. The psychological equivalent, the physiological surge and reactive behavior. All of these are part of the process. Okay, so now that we know that, though, how do we extinguish the anger? We'll start there. How do we extinguish it? Well, just like fighting a physical fire, when we understand the tetrahedron, it tells us directly how to dismantle the anger. Cool the heat, remove yourself from the trigger, take a time out, breathe, starve the oxygen, change the story, break the chain, introduce some form of a somatic response, take deep, slow breaths to activate the parasympathetic nerve system, which then stops the chemical loop from feeding itself. Okay, so that's how we extinguish. But how do we mobilize? What does it mean to mobilize? I want to take the anger and use it. So I don't want to suppress it. I want to use it to be able to transform. Well, identify the core fuel, the pivot to what is the purpose, the action, shift your focus away from the trigger, whatever sparked it, toward the value you need to protect or advocate for. Discharge the excess heat. What is your somatic regulation? What is that practice? And then the action. So before taking any external action, do a brief, intense physical discharge to clear the neurological smoke. Go for a run, go lift weights, do some boxing or kickboxing, do something to engage the muscles and then relax. Because you are not trying to kill the anger, you are lowering the systemic temperature, quote unquote, just enough so that your prefrontal cortex, the portion of your brain that is the executive planner, can then come back online and direct. Contain the combustion. The action for this is set strict boundaries regarding how and when you will address whatever the issue is. Direct the chain reaction, strategic channeling of the energy. The action, channel the behavioral impulse into structured, productive, effective forms of creativity, productivity, advocacy. So the shift is constructive anger doesn't say, I want to destroy you. Constructive anger says, the situation as it is right now is unacceptable. And I have the energy, the power, and the desire to change it right now. Therefore, you are treating the emotional surge not as a weapon, but as a fuel that can then be used to change the situation. Breathe. Does the thing I wish to do, does it express more life, more happiness, more peace to myself, and at the same time, harm no one and nothing? If it does express more life, more happiness, then it is right, and it is not selfish. Remix. If there is something that I want to be, something that I want to do, something that I want to create, have, express, and it is life affirming and adds peace and happiness, not only to myself, but also harms no one and nothing, then it is right and good. If, however, it does harm, to do so would not only be selfish, but would be the antithesis of Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0. Breathe. Very often, this idea of passion or being passionate carries the idea of fire. But someone can be passionate and it references anger. Someone, the reason they're so passionate is because they believe in the cause. So they're referencing the anger, but it's not anger, it's passion, because it's being used in a life-affirming way. It's being used constructively. Passion is a powerful, compelling emotion or a profound devotion to an activity, to a person, or to a cause. You got that in mind? Are you sure? Okay, we want to see. Being passionate means having, expressing, or being driven action being driven by intense, overwhelming emotion or enthusiasm. It describes a deep commitment to something that is of interest to you, be it a cause, a mission, a person. It is characterized by strong feelings, dedication, and something that is often referred to as a fiery or impulsive nature. Got that in mind? Okay. I need you to keep it in there. Constructive anger, also known as passion. Passion has overthrown tyrants. Passion has freed prisoners. And passion has freed slaves. Passion has brought justice where there was savagery. Passion, also known as constructive anger. Human anger is designed by God to motivate us, to mobilize us, to take constructive action in the face of wrongdoing or when facing injustice, to be an activist. Compassionate. See the root word in there? Passion, passionate, compassionate. Well, we're getting ready to go with this. Let's see. Emotion that is uncontrolled produces chaos. It's unexpressed, therefore it produces confusion, conflict, and complexes, for energy will not have a constructive outlet. And this is any energy, right? Someone can be so overjoyed that they're no longer in control of themselves and they run out into traffic and get hit by a car. Like they were so overwhelmed. And so it is important to regulate. Because very often we don't even realize the degree to which we are sitting in the midst of chaos. Because we have normalized chaos so much that this is normal. The monkey mind is normal. The monkey mind is normal when it comes to the amount of bots on social media that, stoke fires of rage, the rage bait, clickbait. Like it's normal. It's expected. It's so normalized, it's expected. And the monkey itself is not the issue. Because there's a way to harness the power of the monkey, especially when we look to the Hindu god Hanuman. The monkey mind can be tamed, channeled, and used in a life-affirming way. So Hanuman, which is also the monkey mind, is the monkey mind as it is expressed in a more life-affirming manner. It is no longer chaotic and in complete disarray. It is controlled, and even when it's chaos, it's controlled chaos. Breathe that in for a second. Okay. Never respond to an angry person with a fiery comeback, even if the person deserves it. Don't allow the person's anger to become your anger. Do not allow them to infect you. Do not allow the vampirism that they have running through their system. Do not let them bite you and thereby turn you into a vampire. Last month, a couple of people reached out to me. And I'm going to put them all in one ball of a category rather than individual. It's easier. And in essence, this group of people were reprimanding me for still grieving in the manner that I was grieving, which included setting up the dedicated space in the sunroom to Kenny and sharing pictures and things of him on social media every day or every other day, or however often I was. They were reprimanding me, as well as sort of reprimanding me just in general. Now, in their minds, they were encouraging me, but their toxic positivity was actually a form of shaming. You're a New Thought minister, you're a minister, you're whatever. You should be over this because, like you said, you don't believe in death and, you know, whatever about heaven and stuff. So what's the issue? So last month I posted a gentle PSA, or whatever I called it, a gentle PSA reminder or whatever. My first instinct was a fiery comeback. Because Tracy can tell you there are times when Hulk smash is brewing just beneath the surface. And as Bruce Banner told Steve Rogers in the first Avengers movie, when Bruce Banner was told, I need you to get angry. I need you to become the Hulk so that you can help us fight the Chitauri. Banner said, that's the thing, Cap. I'm always angry. Now, if he's always angry, then it means there's a balance between, oh, when the Hulk comes out, it's anger that is out of control. Versus when he is Bruce Banner and he's able to do what he needs to do, he's angry, but it's in control. How do we maintain whatever anger, whatever passion there is, and be in control? So that when someone, an angry person, we are able to respond in a compassionate way. The passion is there. The fire is there. But we refuse to allow their version of to taint our version of. And sometimes compassion is simply walking away, having a boundary that says, not today. Goodbye, Dracula. Self-care, compassion. Leaving the space, compassion. Sometimes saying nothing, compassion. Depends on what it is in the situation, as long as there is no fiery comeback. So as I said before, the fire tetrahedron was new for me, but when I started looking into symbols of fire and anger and things, it came up. And so did this. This is also new. You know what the woman is doing? Do you know what she's working on? Huh? Yes, jade. She is doing a jade sculpture of a phoenix, the bird of fire, the bird of transformation and transmutation. Okay. There is this thing called the jade technique. Had you ever heard of this? Yeah, neither did I. In behavioral psychology and various support groups, such as Al Anon or other recovery spaces that deal with toxic or manipulative people, there is a often used acronym called JADE, which stands for, and this isn't my acronym, it already existed. Now, Tracy. JADE, justify, authenticate, defend, explain. Now, the core rule of the JADE strategy is do not jade, do not justify, do not authenticate, do not defend, do not explain. You do not have to justify, defend, or explain your decisions or your actions. I do not have to justify, defend, or explain the manner in which I grieve. Do not jade. The philosophy behind it is that when you over explain or feel like you need to validate yourself, you inadvertently signal to the other person or people that somehow your decision or your actions are up for debate. Like, we can actually discuss this. You give the other person ammunition to then argue with you, to shame you, to ridicule you, to reprimand you. Don't give it to them. They don't deserve it. Breathe. And as Reverend Temple Hayes recently reminded me, we were having a conversation and she said, and I didn't even realize it was the jade, I didn't even know at the time, but I will not justify, defend, or explain myself. I will not. Now, sometimes it's fine to do so. But once again, it's important to know what is motivating this. Am I triggered to then justify, defend, and explain? Or am I justifying, quote unquote, defending or explaining because in this moment, it's what's necessary? Many years ago, when I was in a car accident, well, I had to go to court. And I'm defending or justifying because it's what you do in court. I'm explaining myself because it's what you do in court. In order to say, no, this is how they caused the accident. I need to justify, defend, and explain, but not because I'm triggered or feel guilty and feel like, but I need you to like me. It's a different energy. So once again, being mindful. What's the initiating spark that is setting stuff on fire? Healthy anger. Wait, what? What'd you just say? I said healthy anger. How often do we even refer to anger as healthy? Healthy anger is a call out for connection, and it is not out to cause harm or to hurt anybody. Healthy anger is a call to mobilizing. It is a call to being active. It is a call to healing. Unhealthy anger is a call to death, destruction, demoralization, demonizing. Do we know the difference? If I were to, and I'm not going to, but if I were to pull up a photo of a person, we'll just, as an example, I pull up a picture of Hitler. Can we identify if the anger that's being expressed is healthy anger or unhealthy anger? And what's going on with said anger? Did Hitler hurt or harm anybody? The current administration here in the United States, is it hurting anybody? So when someone is railing against the machine, what kind of anger is doing the railing? And what is the machine? Because if the machine that they are angry about is diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's not really Christianity. That's not healthy anger. That's not what they're claiming it is. The more we are able to differentiate and discern, the better able we are to act accordingly. If I cannot tell the difference between a cup of salt and a cup of sugar, how do I know which one is supposed to go into this recipe? I need to be skilled enough to know, how do I tell the difference? Oh, I could do a taste test. Salt. And now I know which one to use. But some people are good enough, skilled enough that they can look the salt. Either way it goes, I have to be able to discern, tell the difference between, in order to know how best to then take action. Speaking of our current administration, it is extremely important that we are mindful of how we may be triggered or the fires of our own anger may be stoked, how we may be set enraged by any number of tweets or posts. And once again, being mindful and recognizing what exactly am I angry about? Remembering that anger is a secondary emotion. And many of us fear. Fear is there. I'm afraid of what this man may do. I'm afraid of where we are going as a country. There's fear. If we don't know that, we can't address it. We can't talk about it. We can't do anything. So it is important to recognize the anger is not in isolation. It is in partnership with something. So how do we reconcile, put into practice everything that Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 represents so that we come back into a space of harmony? So that we can transform our anger, anxiety, fear, whatever, and then cultivate our energy so that it is an energy of peace, understanding, and compassion, and that they then become the basis of our actions. I realize that if my thoughts immediately affect my body, I should be careful about what I think. Now, if I get angry, I ask myself why I feel that way. If I can find the source of my anger, then I can turn that energy into something more life-affirming. Breathe. To actively embody and engage the Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 is to understand that all of our emotions serve a purpose. And that way we can learn to channel and apply the energy in life-affirming ways, no matter the emotion or feeling. And as this week's message offers, anger is a fire that we can use to burn ourselves and others, or it is a fire that we can use to comfort and warm, to cook, to transform and transmute, or into steel, coal to a diamond, sand to glass, and moldable clay to porcelain. Mobilize the anger. Manifest opportunities by integrating life intentionally, zealously, and energetically. Breathe. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, I invite you to repeat it the second time. I channel anger into meaningful, courageous, life-affirming action. Together. I channel anger into meaningful, courageous, life-affirming action. And so it is. This week's Thursday night study group questions, or your own personal journal exploration. Number 1. What was the most recent time that I felt angry, and what was I angry about? Number 2. Who is an example of someone, and what is an example of how this someone mobilized anger in life-affirming ways? Number 3. How can I practice mobilizing anger more frequently? Number 4. How does the monkey mind make mobilizing anger more challenging? Number 5. In what situations or what kinds of situations might I use the jade technique, or make sure that I am not jading? How can I be more mindful to say, oh, don't jade, don't justify, no. And lastly, what am I passionate about? And how can anger be transmuted into passion in compassionate ways more often? And breathe. Also, the practice this week, have a conversation about what are some things from your observation that people are more and more angry about today. Why do you think more people are angry about this thing? And why do they tend to express it in non-life affirming ways? Once again, when we can discern, when we can identify the dis-ease, it is far easier to create the vaccine to cure it. Whatever the vaccine may be, prayer, meditation, mindfulness, whatever. But it's helpful to be able to recognize and identify. So it is that time where we close with prayer so that we are better grounded and able to create a world that truly works for all. We simply breathe. We breathe and acknowledge all of our emotions and all of our feelings, vilifying none. because the wood is simply wood. And even when formed into a bat, simply wood, simply a bat. But how the bat is swung, how the bat is used, then makes it a tool for baseball or a weapon to hurt and harm. But still, a bat is a bat. Wood is wood. Anger is anger. How am I using it is the question. How am I using it to transmute and transform in greater and greater life-affirming ways? Simply sitting at the keyboard and being a keyboard warrior, what does that change? Simply using my language to tell people what they can do with the doorknobs in their homes, that they can go outside and kick rocks. Simply doing that, what does it change? What does it do? But being mindful that this is what I feel, this is why I feel it, and now how do I channel it in the most life-affirming ways possible? No jade, no shade. Mobilize, activate, engage. How do I become like the Good Samaritan? How do I serve? How do I let the principles and practices that I have in my mind and my heart and my body, how do I let them be expressed through my actions? Even when anger is present, fear is present, how do I still show up as the divine expression that I know I am? And so we breathe, knowing that all of this is part of our practice, part of our process. It is what it means to be engaged in this thing called life. The law responds accordingly. Every breath, an amen. Every word, every thought, every action, a prayer. The life we live is the demonstration of our amen. And so we choose to do so more consciously, more effectively, in a greater life-affirming manner, allowing our passion to be expressed in compassionate ways. And so we breathe, knowing it is already done. And so it is. And so it is. As always, may your week be blessed, filled with love, joy, happiness, all that you desire and deserve it to be. I will see you sometime during the week, or as always, right here next Sunday. Until then, be well, be blessed. Be love, act fabulous, know joy, and live love every day.
Today's message is complete, something to believe, a seed of truth that we can practice if we choose to receive. As we take the science of mind and spirit pour it over to every corner of the world where the healing needs to go. We know it's not a secret, kept locked behind a door. It's the wisdom that we're living, and love is what we share it for. Now step into the world, be a healing, hopeful beacon. You're walking the path and offering to all who may be seeking. Know it, practice it, live it every day. That's how we heal the consciousness. dedication to liberation.